Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pack and Ship University channel. My name is Mason, and here I talk all about starting and running your own retail shipping store. If that sounds something like you'd be interested in, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to help me grow the channel. Also, check out my website at www.dipasa.com for downloadable resources, one-on-one consultation, my store build services, and in-person training to help get your shipping business off the ground. Now, in today's video, we're doing something really special. I had the chance to sit down with David Selleck, the owner of Postal Route in Fort Mill, South Carolina, to talk all about his journey, the challenges he's faced, and how he's grown the business into the $5 million mega retail shipping store it is today. Whether you're looking for inspiration or practical advice, you'll definitely want to hear what David has to share. Enjoy.
Let's get going. Question number one. We're going to start with like business beginnings. How did you get started in the pack and ship business, and what inspired you to start your first store?
So actually, what happened is my past experience was a hospital administrator. I was working in Catholic hospital. The Catholic hospital was selling to another hospital in the area, and all of the administrative staff was going to be let go. So I went to the little shop, a little pack and ship shop that was near our house, opened a mailbox, and I started a business doing medical consulting. Probably several months later, I would be in there daily. I went in one day and they said, they're going to sell the store. You need to buy it. And I said, are you kidding me? I have no idea what this is all about. And it turned out that I had a buddy that was working in the insurance industry, real estate industry. And that's when the housing market crashed and he uh, got laid off. So I asked him if he was interested in running the store, and I would just do the accounts payable and the payroll at home, and he would basically run it. And he said, yeah. So that's how it got started.
Awesome. Very cool. Following up on that, what were some of the, not having much experience in the industry, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced once, starting into this your store there?
Well, the store was really small. It only had 3 employees. It was doing about 350,000 a year gross. So it was just a little store. The benefit that we had is one of the ladies that worked there had worked for 20 years in the post office before she took this job. And so she knew the postal industry and the general shipping industry up and down. And so she really was our mentor. So we were fortunate to have a personal mentor right in the store. So she got us up to speed pretty quickly. And, that was a big help for sure.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Um, so let's see here. So just kind of sticking to this subject that we're in now, just business beginnings. What advice would you get to someone who's starting up their own store? Because that's the primary audience that I put my videos out for, and it's really what we're looking for is like what advice do you have as someone who's really succeeded in this industry?
Well, I think there's certainly an advantage to buying an existing store and growing it,
Hmm.
rather than starting at square one. But if somebody's getting interested in getting into the industry, I think the biggest thing they've got to pay attention to is location.
Hmm.
Don't stick yourself. I've done a bunch of work with some of the RSA folks, and their location's horrible. They could do almost anything they want to do, and it's just not going to grow their business. Uh, I'm very fortunate in that I have a very good location. I also have two loading docks, a subsurface loading dock and a surface loading dock, and that's really, really hard to find in good retail space. Um,
Yeah.
so, depending on where their ultimate goals are, some of the things they need to consider. If you're starting from, really from nothing, you just gotta talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Talk to anybody you can. One of the things that's been very helpful for me, and you probably don't know this, but there's been four startup store owners that have spent over a week here in my store.
Oh.
And basically, we had them actually physically work on the counters, ship packages, load stuff in the back, pack boxes, work in the print center. So, they had some invaluable, things they could learn. And, plus it's nice for them to be able to pick the brains of my staff.
Yeah,
Um, and so that's another thing. If you've got another successful store somewhere in your area, if you can find out if they'll let you come in and spend some time there, that's probably the best stuff you can get.
for sure. Yeah, I offer that as well. I've had probably 15, 20 people or so that, just come in and spend a day there, get to see it. My store is definitely not at, probably like a tenth of the volume that you're putting out just because we're only a year old. But it's I'm sure people would, get more experience than anywhere else, definitely working the
Yeah, I
counter at
think
your
the
store.
key is I try to tell them to spend a week here and not just a day.
Oh,
Because they'll spend, if they come in a day, you can run them around and show them everything.
yeah.
But I don't know how much of it will really sink in. But you put them on the counter and have them wait on customers and have them, pack some boxes and have them do some things. Um, I guess it's probably because I'm more of a visual learner anyway, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a solid, 30 minutes just to learn how to cut the tape gun, just that little flick of the wrist there.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Is that something that you charge for, or you just offer it to just here and there?
No, I don't charge. I tell you, there is an intrinsic benefit for me in that when you have employees that are having questions thrown at them and
Ah,
they're having to answer it, it also forces them to become better learners and better
gotcha.
at it. So there is benefit to me as well.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. All right. So now we're going to kind of transition over to operations and strategies. So as someone who's probably arguably one of the top stores in the country, what are some of the key factors that you've seen and produced that are help make your store so successful?
Well, I think looking back on it, there's a lot of little things, but because I didn't have any experience in the industry, I think initially my goal was not to try to figure out how to make money. It was listening to customers and trying to figure out what the community wanted. And so that probably laid down the foundation for a lot of the services that we provide is just asking people and listening to people and say, okay, well, we can do that, or we can't do that, or why can't we do that, and that type of thing. And and that's kind of led us, through the process more than anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's something when I help people, I help people open their stores. There's a couple of companies out there that want to make this giant store almost like yours, where you have all these retail items and the, $15,000 printers and all that just for when you're just starting out. And something I always push on them is just let's start with the basics and talk to your customers, figure out what exactly that is going to be the most, valuable for your store to have. So that's awesome to hear from you as well. Um, so how do you decide what service, or we kind of talked about it, it's basically from your customers, but um, what what have been some of the, best services you've had and maybe some services that you had that didn't really work out and you might not have anymore in your store?
Well, certainly the best service we provide, I think, as far as getting customers in the store, and it's a really hard sell to most new stores and a lot of existing stores, is looking at what customers perceive when they come in the door. And one of the things that we found very quickly is that if you're upcharging stamps, you're immediately planting a negative impression.
Yeah.
And so, stamps are a loss leader for me. Um, we sell a lot of stamps. I mean, I sell $250,000 worth of stamps a year. Um, so it's not a small amount. But obviously I make very little or no money on them.
Hmm.
But uh, if you want to compete with the post office and you want to grab a bunch of people, it's to me, it's a lot easier to just sell the stamps at cost, keep the people happy, and not spend your money on advertising and promotions and all this other stuff that you're going to do to try to get people in the store. Because once people hear about it and talk about it, um, they're going to tell their friends, well, why would you go to the post office? Just go to the postal route. Their stamps are the same price. Um, so, you get a lot of that kind of feedback. Um, we've tried a lot of things, and certainly some have not been great, and we phased them in and out. Um, I think a lot of that we would see mostly in the retail areas. Retail tends to be very cyclic. We'll get some things in here we think will do really well, and then after a while they don't do well. So I think one of the things you have to be careful of is, don't get locked into a vendor, don't get locked into product lines and don't buy a lot of it because you'll see them cycle a lot. Um,
Gotcha.
um, Initially, like when we started with gifts, we had the impression that we were going to have smaller gifts that were in the $10 to $30 range that people would come in and they would buy they were shipping something to their kids and they would add something to it. That really did not work. Um, what really works is to have 800 and $1,000 items in your store. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, it even though you may not turn over those items, it does send a subliminal message to people that you're not a Chotzy store. You're
Ah,
not a Dollar General or anything like that. You're trying to
gotcha.
promote higher end stuff. Um, so those things, although the movement on them may not be as great, it certainly causes movement a lot more in the middle areas.
For sure. I see that now. Yeah. Yeah. One of my biggest takeaways from your keynote speaking video was you never use the word cheap. And I definitely, when I first started my store, I was just working it all by myself. That was one word that I would say a bunch, and I've totally got rid of it from my vocabulary from hearing that from you.
Yeah,
Mainly on the shipments because you get people coming in, they want that USPS ground advantage. It's always kind of the lowest option, and yeah, you don't want to say cheap.
for sure. And I get on my staff when they get into that habit as well. On that point, I will also add that the way you can control your screens on PostalMate, we don't put ground advantage on our main screen. So it's either going to be FedEx ground, UPS ground, and priority, or if it's under a pound, it's going to be ground advantage. But um, if it's over a pound, ground advantage over a pound is not appearing on that initial screen. That's both a help with the employees as well as with the customers, because one of the things that you don't want to put your employees in a bad situation where they have to kind of not tell the truth. So if that's not even showing and they can say, well, the best option I have is, FedEx ground for blah, blah, blah. And if they give them some other options, they've got, there's other options on the screen. So, um, it's better just to take that off the screen completely.
Yeah, I do the same. Yeah, you definitely want to, use a more reliable shipment anyways. So, um, yeah, I totally see where you came from, and I've definitely followed in your footsteps doing similar things at my store, and it shows in your sales numbers when you do something like that. What are the most common shipping needs that your customers have, and what do you do to try to exceed their expectations? If your local competition is maybe a post office, something like that, it's not super hard to, you know, be better than them, but
Post office is not a competition. Yeah,
yeah, no,
let's
but what do you do to like exceed a customer's expectations? I know a lot of this retail industry is really just, if you wow them the first time, they're going to keep coming back forever. They know you're the spot to go.
there's a couple of things that, philosophically I've dealt with. If you're trying to grow into a mega store or, get big, one of the biggest issues you have to address is not having people stand around in line very long and to have enough staff there and enough shipping centers, shipping computers to handle them. So to address that, there's a couple of things that I have done. One is that we do a lot of accounts. So anybody that uh, businesses and people that do a lot of shipping, rather than have them come in and stand in line, we'll set up an account for them. They come in and they just drop them off and then we do them. What that does for me is that when we're not so busy, the staff can be working on those things. When it gets busy, they can stop and they can help out the customers in line. So one of the advantages is that it allows me to a little bit overstaff. Um, Typically, if I didn't have some of these extra things that we've got going on, you'd be really hesitant to overstaff because you're going to have people standing around, not doing anything. So accounts is one way that we've been able to really grow that business, and we do a lot of accounts. In a given day, last couple of days have been ridiculous. We probably did, 600 packages yesterday in accounts, and today we're probably down to about 400. It's a little bit high for us, but we just got clobbered. I think part of it was, the hurricane and stuff that came through, and people kind of backed off a little bit. But
Mhm.
normally we're going to ship anywhere from 2 to 500 packages a day on our accounts, which is nice because the customer's not standing in front of you. Um, Employees can work on them when they don't have a customer in line. And then when there is a customer, you can help them. So I think that's one thing that you got to really be aware of if you want to grow your business is um, people are very sensitive about standing in line,
Yeah.
very. Um, the other thing that we do, which is kind of dumb, we started doing it from almost day one, is we have candy bowls at all the registers. And the initial idea was that it would be a kid thing. It's not a kid thing. It's 100% adult thing.
Yeah.
Um, and if you run out of chocolate, you're in big trouble. But I actually I've never spent a dime on any kind of marketing, advertising, or anything. Uh, but I do spend $600 a month in candy.
Well, if it sounds like it's working, yeah, that was going to be one of the next questions. You know, moving into like marketing and growth, you did answer, the majority of questions by saying I've never spent a dime on it. I'm with you there. I tried, when I first started, I tried doing, some direct mail cards. I don't recommend those at all. Tried doing Google ads, tried doing, Facebook ads and all this stuff. I didn't spend much on it. I kind of went with the minimum, but um, a lot of the people that subscribe to my channel, one of their biggest questions is, what can I expect opening my store to, what can I do and what can I expect growth wise? So my first question there is with your accounts, with how much you're doing on your accounts, how long did it take you to get to, how many accounts you have today? And, what did you
Well,
do to
first,
grow those?
well, first of all, one thing about accounts that you have to pick up on very quickly is that some accounts are long term, like say an attorney's office is going to be a long term account, or a real estate group, or some of these other kind of tax people. But a lot of the accounts are very transitory. So what you try to pick up on is, you've got somebody coming in your store and they're coming in 3 times a week and they're bringing in, two or three Etsy or eBay packages. Those people, if you kind of tap those people early, there is a transition in which you become a great fulfiller for them in the sense that they're trying to grow their business, whatever it is. And so shipping becomes just an irritation of that they realize is not something that makes them money, but something they have to do. And so you can fill that niche for them. Now, when somebody gets to the point where they're doing, 30 or 40 or 50 packages a day, then it's going to be less expensive for them to hire somebody or do their shipping through, one of the available stuff companies. So um, you have to understand that a lot of those accounts are transitory.
Mhm.
You're filling a niche for somebody that's kind of, got their business going, but hasn't got it big enough where they can really, deal with, spend the time on shipping.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, the way we recruit most of them is just people coming in the door. Anytime that we have a customer come in the door and they, say, I've got 20 packages, um, they it begs the question, would you like to set up an account? We can, you don't have to wait here for 45 minutes while we do all these. So that's the way a lot of it starts. Now, businesses, more word of mouth, I think, they like those kind of things. Recently we got a big run on, during COVID or right before COVID, a big run on apartment complexes because they were all doing all that certified crap that were required through the COVID requirements. They couldn't kick anybody out. They had to have all this documentation and certified mail and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, we picked up a bunch of those primarily because of that requirement.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. I did last one on like marketing and whatnot. I did a little homework before we jumped on this call. Um, for your online reviews, definitely difficult to get when you're first starting. Is that something, do you have any kind of signage in your stores, like, leave a review, or is that all just, natural organic reviews being left?
They're mostly organic. We do have some things that we put up from time to time. Personally, I hate all of that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't like any of it.
I don't
Um,
either.
so, I was very happy when Google kind of cut back on their business review things.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't like it. I'm not none of that stuff. I don't like it. We don't ask customers to do it. We don't try to direct them there. So yes, I would say that 90% of what you've got if you looked on our site, is all organic.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't have anything to ask for it. But yeah, I saw a funny quote the other day. Your order could be wrong at McDonald's 10 times in a row and you're not going to leave a bad review, but you go to a small business one time and they do something bad, you're leaving a bad 1-star review. So that's kind of how things go. And the reviews are somewhat important for, Google. Some people take them seriously, and then you get a lot of people that come in and, don't understand shipping and they leave you a bad review because they didn't understand what was going on. So I understand completely why you don't like them. I don't like them either, but it's definitely a big topic of conversations for people who just open their stores. It's like, what can I do to drum up these reviews? So appreciate your input there. Da, 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 da. One of the biggest questions I asked all my subscribers, like, let's ask, what questions do you have for David? One of the biggest ones I have here is why haven't you had when's store number 2 coming, and why haven't you done that?
So that's a good question. Early on, probably around year 7 or 8, um, we did investigate that, and I did actually do some proposals to open up a couple of other stores. Kind of ran into a lot of roadblocks. One of the roadblocks that I ran into is, back then there were geographical requirements for UPS, for the post office, and that. And so that was a problem, trying to find a location that we liked. The other problem was just, looking at the logistics of how we were going to staff it and kind of do all that kind of stuff. So at one point, we just decided it wasn't worth it. Now, recently I've had, more interest from other communities to do it. And, I've talked to a couple of people. I said, hey, if you're interested in opening a store, I can help you. So, that type of thing. I may be a good mentor for somebody that
Yeah.
wants to open a store in the area, because there's a couple of areas that are really underserved. But yeah, we ran at it early on, and just there were so many obstacles. I just decided I didn't want to hassle with it.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I get a lot of people just trying to help them open stores and at least get their foot in the door where they understand, like, here's how you get the carrier counts. That's more so what I do, is like, here's how you call FedEx, here's how you talk to UPS, here's how you get your USPS, here's your shipping software, that kind of stuff. But yeah, a lot of them are, a lot of the new business owners looking to open one of these, they're super eager, like, I'm going to open 2 stores at the same time. And it's like, watch David's video. You talk about it in the keynote speaker one there too, why you haven't had a second store. And I was like, watch this and understand why you should just start with one.
It also depends on, what your span of control is, and
Mm,
if you have the demographics to build a mega store, it's probably, in the long term, it's less expensive and more profitable for you to build a single mega store. Now, if you're in a demographic area that's not going to support it, then obviously, going to multiple locations may be the only option you have. But
gotcha. Yeah, I'm with you on that. So now we'll kind of pivot into industry trends and adaptation. So big question is, you've been in it longer than anyone I know. What have you really seen change wise in the pack and ship world, and what have you done to adapt to those changes?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of changes. I think the worst change that's happened is tracking numbers. They should have never invented the damn things. Um, it used to be people came in, they mailed something, and then, it got there eventually, right?
Yeah.
Um, you didn't know that it got misdirected and went to California before it went to Mississippi, Um, it wasn't scanned in 3 hours. It hasn't been moved in 2 days, and on and on and on. I think that the tracking numbers just really have not really. I mean, I hate the whole thing. It's just dumb. That's probably 80% of the calls that we get.
Oh,
Um, and then you still have, unfortunately, good segment of the population that don't even know how to use them and don't know how to, don't have a computer or can use a phone to put in a tracking number. And they're going to call you. I sent my package 2 days ago and my son hasn't gotten it. Can you track it for me? And you're sending them e-receipts, you're sending them, the tracking numbers, and they're on the receipt. They've got multiple, uh, you know, places where they have the tracking number, but they don't have a clue how to use it, so it doesn't help.
yeah.
So that's been, I think something that I think it sounded really good when it came out, but I think it's actually caused a lot more anxiety and a lot more anger, because, people, if they send a package to their kid supposed to go to, Colorado, and it ends up in, Boston, um, they're not calling you because I'm a little concerned. They're calling you because they're damn right mad.
Yeah.
And it's like, what am I going to do? I can't do anything other than try to appease them. But anyway, other things that I think that have gone crazy in the industry is the costs. I think the cost of, if I look at a trend over the last 10 years, I will tell you that by far the size of packages have gone down considerably. People are doing a lot more gift cards and smaller things. They're not coming in with doll houses and stuff like that anymore, because it's ridiculous. You can't ship it. The
Hmm.
cost is too high. Um, and then you've got Amazon that came on the scene where they can ship anything to anywhere. So they're not getting stuff and sending it to their family. They're just sending it directly from Amazon or from the manufacturer. So those have all changed. I think the whole thing with drop-offs, I mean, Amazon created that animal, and it continues to be, uh, a thing. One of the things that surprises me is there's a lot of people in the industry right now that are still very resistant about, returns. They just don't like them. They don't like to handle drop-offs. They're trying to charge for tape, and they're trying to charge for this and charge for that, and it's just it mostly is because they don't like them. But the thing is it's a reality. You got to deal with it, and
Hmm.
that does bring people in the store. You do get a lot of people that just drop off, but even the people that are just dropping off their packages, they may be talking to other people and that kind of stuff. But I don't know what our current drop off are. I haven't looked at it in this last several weeks, but we're way over 6,000 a week now. So people are pretty much constantly coming in the door, with the drop offs. And then we also, I don't know if you know this, but because of our volume and because of our size, uh, the post office finally called Uncle, and they put us on the distribution system. So we actually have postal equipment here, and we have, twice a day they pull the mail trucks up, and all of our stuff gets loaded and goes directly to the distribution center.
Wow.
But it doesn't go to another post office. There's been a couple of interesting advantages to that. One is that, most of the post offices, the local post offices and the ones in the surrounding area all close at 4 or 5 o'clock.
Hmm.
We're open till 6. So we're the last pickup before they go to the distribution center. So interestingly enough, by pure logistics, if you're the last one on the truck, you're also the first one off that truck.
Ah.
And you, I mean, it does not a week goes by that people come in and say, if I put my stuff in my mailbox at home, it takes longer to get delivered than if I bring it to your store.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's making multiple stops at that point. Yeah, it's got to go to
Right.
the post office and then probably get fumbled and maybe delayed a day, and then it
And,
finally goes
and
out to the
then
distribution.
and then it's in the back of the truck, and my stuff is on the front of the truck, on the back of the
Yeah,
truck, but the first one off. So, there's some logistical things there that have been very helpful from the post office. The other thing is that because of our volume, the postmaster locally actually gave us a scanner. So we have a post office scanner here so that we can do certifieds, we can do scan forms and that kind of stuff. So
wow.
that's helped bring a lot of businesses in that are using scan forms because they used to only be able to go to the post office to get them scanned. So we can scan and upload them and they get their acceptance scan right from us. Um, and so that's been a help. So there are some things that, with volume, you can, you know, parlay to help you continue to grow.
Yeah,
And those are just some examples.
gotcha. What are you going to do when they come and ask you, do you want to be the postmaster? Because that seems to be like where you're heading right now.
Yeah. That happened several years ago.
Oh,
So
did it really?
that's a hard no.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, a lot of the postmasters are tough to get in touch with. I know they're managing, multiple offices, and when a lot of these are types of stores are first opening, they're trying to get that 1583A sign so that they can rent the mailboxes out. And one of the biggest struggles I've seen from people I'm helping is just like I can't even get in touch with them. So yeah, I can't
Yeah,
imagine what they're doing.
you need to make friends with your postmaster or
For sure.
whoever he is because they could be key to helping you. And uh, I've so there since I've had this store, I've had 11 postmasters. So they don't stay there very long. The current one I have is great. He's planning on retiring in 3 years, and he's says he's going to stay. So he'll be a good one, and he's a good guy. But he also recognizes the advantages that we provide to him. And so he's a good guy and he's very accessible. Another thing that, this doesn't happen as much now as it used to, but um, if you look at our town, it's kind of split by I-77.
Mhm.
So, and the main post office is on the other side of I-77. Um, so one of the things is when the carriers go out these days, especially when we get closer to the holidays, they get just dumped on with stuff. And when they run out of room on their truck, for them to run back to the main post office to dump it out, they lose a lot of time. So a lot of times they'll just bring them here and drop them off.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that saves them having to go across the railroad tracks, so to speak, and having
Hmm.
to deliver those. So yeah, things that you can do to integrate your store, with the post office. That's another thing that you probably have seen. Generally speaking, I don't see that a lot of people in our industry have a love for the post office. They mostly have a hate relationship with them. And, you know, it's to your advantage to develop a relationship with your post office and see if there's options where you can help them. Uh,
Hmm.
make sure that the guys running the routes and stuff that they know that they can stop in and they can use your restroom and they can use your kitchen and get some, water, whatever, but you gotta reach out to those guys because um, you may need them someday and they can
For
help you.
sure. Yeah, I tell everyone that too. You definitely be very friendly to your post office drivers. Be very friendly to the postmaster. They definitely will help you out in the future, or they can make your life a living hell if they wanted to. So definitely
Yes,
be
they
nice to them.
can. We've had a number of years ago, we had a postmaster he was a union guy and he and I did not get along and we had a few interesting encounters.
Yeah, luckily I've had the same one. I mean, it's only been a year since I opened, but I've had the same one the entire time. I've had quite a few different drivers. Um, you know, since we have mailboxes that we rent out at our store, one of the big things, we have a lot of issues with mail theft in the area. So trying to get them, being really nice, trying to get them to just drop everything off inside the store so we don't have to worry about mail getting stolen in our box outside, was a big one. Took a while, but um, we're finally there, and all the drivers are great. You definitely, yeah, offer them waters, offer them. We do candy at our store too. Offer them all that stuff, make them happy. It goes a long way. And we
Yeah.
just got, they finally gave us, we're quite a ways behind you, but they finally are giving us one of those big canvas rolling carts. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we use the APCs, the great big old honkers,
Yeah.
but at Christmas time when they start running low on equipment, we may get some of the canvas tubs.
Oh,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Are there any common mistakes that you see from new store owners? I know you've had a few work at your store and kind of get a feel from it. What would you say is the biggest mistake you've seen from people trying to open their own?
well, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is just some people have really chosen some bad locations. I mean, they
Mm,
just have not. And on top of not choosing a good location, they've also chosen some layouts that are just really wonky,
mm,
because they got a great deal or something like that. Um, you know, there's one store, that I've seen not too long ago that was basically a tunnel, and it had, the storefront was about as wide as the door, but it went way, way, way back. That just is so awkward in trying to set up something to be functional.
mm,
So I think the other thing is that, look at the functionality and the layout, uh, make sure it makes sense.
mm.
And I think that's where a lot of people get, caught up.
Yeah, that's something that I try to help with. Opening new stores is the hardest part of opening new stores is finding like a great location between the territorial, account. You have to be far enough away from other stores with the same type of accounts, all of that, and then just finding an actually good retail store. I definitely envy you for having your own building. That's, a goal of mine one day is to be able to have something like that. Because dealing with landlords and brokers and all this stuff is definitely a
I don't
nightmare when
own
you
my
haven't done it.
building. No, I don't own
Oh,
my
you don't?
building. No, no,
Oh,
no.
it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is a standalone building, right?
It is. So to tell you a little background, this building was an older building. It was originally a roofing company,
Yeah.
and half of the building was uh, their offices, and the other half was a warehouse.
Mm,
And you know, it was in a good location, but because it was kind of a family business, and when they sold it, I was really interested in it because it had the loading docks, and I wanted the warehouse because it gave me a blank slate to work with,
mm.
because there was nothing in here. Um, I could have bought it, but I just economically it wasn't going to happen because the real estate around here was just too expensive. I didn't have 4 million, and nobody was going to loan me 4 million.
Yeah, that's wild.
But anyway, the landlord's pretty good. I don't really have any issues. I did an interesting lease with him. I kind of projected out as a good ways, and so I basically it's a 15-year lease with some escalations in between. So I was able to kind of keep things significantly below market,
Yeah.
especially at this end of the thing. Um, and also, I'm kind of his anchor out here anyway. So he's
Mm,
got two other buildings behind us that he owns, and so it's been good. But yeah, um, if I was younger and I had gotten into this industry younger, I would have certainly considered, trying to buy some real estate and do something.
mm.
But one of the other cautions there is I've learned so much about flow and functionality. If I had built a building 15 years ago, I would probably hate myself now
Yeah.
because you do learn a lot and you do a lot of things, and so I don't know. It is kind of a catch 22, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, I didn't know. I guess I assumed that you owned it. I mean, I've seen all the videos and how well you're doing. I assumed, but I mean, it definitely makes sense to just continue to run. You never know what changes. You're getting so big, you might need five, six loading docks one day. You just never know.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think what's incredible with your store is just how many actual bays you have for shipping, how many customer service counters that you have there. Because stores just starting out, it's just like just start with one, you can do another one in the future. And you're how many do you have? It looked like about 10 of them.
There's 8 shipping stations. There's 1 drop off, 1 accounts, 2 in print, and 2 in gifts. So, and then 1 in packaging.
I can't even imagine. I
There's a
can't even
lot. Oh,
imagine.
and then 1 in
Yeah.
mail. Forgot about that one.
Yeah. It's insane.
2 in mail. I just got corrected. There's 2 in mail.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely you're have something incredible there. There's definitely nothing else I've ever seen like it. But well, yeah, we'll move over into like the subscriber questions. These are kind of the bigger ones. People from my channel who, I gave them a heads up last week. Hey, we're going to be doing an interview with David, and just a few questions from them. So the first one here is, what led you into selling those retail gift items, and has that volume grown over time?
So I think I said it earlier that, our original idea was to come up with stuff that was in kind of a mid-range that was easy to ship type of items, thinking that people coming in the store would grab them to ship. That did not work at all. Um, we didn't want to get into Chotzi. We didn't want to have little crappy things on the counters and stuff. So we put expensive stuff on the counter. So
Right.
$35 and up type of stuff. Um, but we found that as we added more and more stuff, that sales of all SKUs kind of started growing as well. And I think that a lot of it has to do with, if you have a broad spectrum of products that address a lot of different areas, then people come in and they see you more as a complete gift shop, and they're more likely to shop around and eventually buy stuff. Um, so it has definitely grown exponentially, for sure. The other thing is just having the right staff. I mean, I have an excellent gift shop manager. She's great. Um, she keeps up with inventory. We're buying from, uh, I just saw one. Sharon, come here. I'll introduce you to Sharon.
Sounds good. Yeah. I know a lot of stores are interested in
This is
adding this kind of
Sharon.
service.
Sharon's the gift shop manager. Sharon, how many vendors do you think we buy from these days?
Oh my gosh. Geez, I don't know.
Are they mostly local?
Now, you buy from more than 100, don't you think?
Probably.
Yeah.
No, they're not local.
No,
Okay.
almost.
We only have a couple that are local. We don't really get into that because it's kind of like being a consignment store.
Sure. Very cool.
Yeah, one of
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
things that you have to be careful about local vendors is that you don't want to get into Chotzi stuff. Like we stay away from clothing and jewelry, particularly. We have some, like we do some collegiate jewelry, for example, for the schools here. But you start getting into clothing and stuff, the number of SKUs that you have to have and stock is just, 10 shirt sizes and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that.
Oh, true. Yeah.
You have any questions specifically for Sharon? You can ask her.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, I'm trying to see if anyone had any. Let's see. I guess it might be for both of you. I'm not sure how this info is within you guys, but one of the biggest questions I get, because a lot of the shipping stores, a lot of people that subscribe to my channel who are just starting, they're wondering, what percentage of your sales really comes from those gift shop retail items, and what comes from shipping, because a lot of stores are just starting with the shipping sections and then trying to grow from there. So they're trying to have an understanding of, should I add these items or should I not?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think that the reality is that it's a transition. You know, Clearly when you're starting out, shipping and maybe printing and mail, they're going to be, your 3 revenue sources. Um, Gifts took a long time to grow. One of the things, if you're going to try to do gifts and you have the space to do gifts, what you have to do is allocate a certain amount of your gift revenue every month or however quarter, however you want to do it, to add back to your inventory.
Mhm.
Because like right now I'm sitting on $60,000 in inventory in my store in
Ooh.
gifts. And that's not something that you can financially do on day one or very quickly. So when you start out, you take some of that sales and you put it in a bucket and you say, okay, I'm going to add that to my inventory, and you keep adding to that every month. Because otherwise it's a huge investment. You're not a Home Depot where you can go out there and
Yeah. Yeah.
throw $3 million and open a store. Um, so it takes a while to do that. The advantage is that as you continue to add to that inventory, it continues to have your sales grow.
Mhm.
And and so, it allows you to have different vendors and a more variety of stuff and that kind of things.
Yeah.
So uh, I think that's the way to go about it. But a new store really needs to focus on, customer service, shipping, printing, probably mail. Those are still going to be your big numbers. Now, for me, it's kind of flipped a little bit because of the size. But the other thing that is really interesting, and I've pondered this a lot, is one of the main attractions to people looking to do a business is why would you do a shipping store? Well, one of the big advantages is that you have a lot of revenue sources, or you can create a lot of revenue sources. And any way you look at it, every one of them are going to ebb and tide with different things going on in society. Printing's going to go up and down. Obviously, you have some peaks and valleys with printing because when school's in and not in and stuff like that. You've got shipping, you got a huge December. Gifts, you got Mother's Day, and you've got a lot of other holidays throughout the year. So what I find is that even though I've got a lot of this up and down stuff with each of my revenue centers, that the more you have and the better you grow those revenue centers, the more consistent your revenue is. And that's a real problem when you're starting out. I mean, I can remember early on when, I'd do payroll and there'd be $60 in the checkbook and I'd go, oh my God, don't let something bad happen.
Yeah.
So uh, those type of things over time are really great to have the more consistency in your revenue sources if you have multiple channels of revenue. Um, One of the things that we're looking at now, and if I'm looking at maybe acquiring some additional space next door, is I'm considering a coffee shop. So we're going to get
Oh, yeah,
so always looking for other opportunities.
for sure. Yeah, I've seen a lot of out here. I mean, coffee is here in Washington is bananas. I mean, you can't even throw something and it's going to hit a coffee stand. So there's definitely I've seen a lot of newer stores that are opening up like Post and Pour and like that kind of stuff where you kind of take the two together. So yeah, that's I'm with you on that with kind of the way the leading into our last question here, the way that things are trending towards the future. You have to be able to have those other revenue generating things in your store to adapt with the time. So the last question I have for you here is another subscriber question is, what do you see for the future of the industry as a whole, the retail package ship industry as a whole?
I think that shipping is gonna continue to be a less and less of a profit area for us. I think that's because the carriers are making it so expensive and it's driving down the smaller packages. Um, I think that in order to keep that revenue up, you need to be thinking about having a store where you've got the ability to do LTL, you've got, loading docks, you've got to be attracting businesses. You can't, I just think that, you know, the retail from the standpoint of the typical person that's shipping to their family and stuff like that is just not where the money is anymore. Um, so I guess the answer is small packages are just going to go away as far as being a real profitable center. You can't mark, when you look at somebody coming in and doing a 3 ounce envelope and sending a few Chotzi to their kids or something, you can't add enough revenue, enough profit on there to make it worth the time it takes you to deal with that customer. If they're coming in with 60-pound boxes, then obviously, that's a much better deal for you.
Mhm.
So you got to attract businesses. I think that one of the things that I've talked with several store owners is that a lot of store owners are really much in the mode of being just a retail, mom and pop, walk in the door, type of stuff. I think that as an industry, we got to start really thinking about being more accessible to businesses. And I
Mhm.
think accounts do that. You've got to run after some of those people. You got to be able to, when somebody comes in and says, I need to send 600 packages tomorrow, can you do it? You say yes. The answer is yes. Whatever you got to do. If you got
Yeah.
to stay there all night, you're going to do it.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh
um,
yeah, I've definitely done that.
yeah, and I think that that's what you'll see is a real problem with some of our mom and pop stores is that, they're very fixed in their routine and they don't want to be interrupted in their routine. And, somebody coming in and saying they want to do something like that, it's like, oh no, I can't do that, you know. So I think that you got to watch out. As far as other trends, I think that um, consumers, one of the advantages that we do have is that we're the last of the stores, of the retail stores that really are focused on customer service. You
Mhm.
don't go to the grocery store anymore unless you self-checkout. Walmart doesn't even have any checkouts. Everything's self-service. Home Depot, Lowe's, Target's just started it. Pretty soon there's not going to be any customer service. It's going to be your service.
Mhm.
And so we're one of the last of those small niche, centers that has a lot of interaction with the public because of what we do. People buy stamps, people ship packages on a routine basis. That we're going to be giving them good customer service or direct customer service, and that's going away in a lot of the industries around us. You either order it online or you do your self checkout. You don't go anywhere and ask questions.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. I'm with you. I never thought of it that way. That's a really cool way of thinking it because yeah, I mean, yeah, everything you do now, you're doing it yourself. Even, they have those little tablets when you go out to dinner. It's like pay your own check,
yeah,
leave a tip on there and pay it yourself.
right. The thing is that because we inherently, because of the shipping that we're asking people for their name and their address and their phone number and email, that gives us an opportunity to create a bond with our customers that is completely going away in the rest of the industry.
Yeah,
And, so that's where an opportunity is.
gotcha. Okay, very cool. Well, that was all the questions I have from the subscribers and questions in general. Dave, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak with me today and answer all these questions. You're literally the man in this industry from what I've seen and what everyone else has seen. You're the pinnacle of shipping stores. So this information it's going to go a long way, whether you think it or not. There's going to be a lot of people who get a lot of valuable ideas and changing from even just the last couple questions that we had, changing from just having the basic shipping store to maybe having more of those other types of services within their store to adapt with the times like you're talking about. So again, I can't thank you enough. It's been amazing. Do you have any parting words for the channel?
No, good luck and I hope that people can grab some ideas. I think that fear is not a reason to not step forward. A lot of people just gotta deal with it and move forward. So,
Hmm.
all right,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah, well, thank you again. I appreciate it, and I was going to send a little gift basket to your team to thank them for allowing you to step aside to do this video. So expect something in the next
No
couple
big,
weeks.
no big deal. All right, man.
Thank you very much again.